particularly clear to begin with.
Okay, so the recommendation in this is basically to leave it general based on the state law and use the majority terminology instead of actually identifying a number 3, 4, or however many.
He was taking it out completely and relying 100% on state law,
Okay. Now,
because it is what it is, and
Okay.
even if you had it differently in an ordinance, or
it
if
doesn't
the,
supersede.
yeah, it is what it is.
Thank you.
Councilman Wallace.
Yeah, so I wanted some clarification on the agenda portion of it. So a while back, when Ms. Johnson was our city secretary, we didn't have a treasurer. And so the ideology was that council members send in their items early. That way the city secretary would have time to put the agenda together so that we would get the packet earlier, because right now we typically get late. We typically get on a late Friday evening, which sometimes doesn't allow us enough time to really grasp the information that we need, especially when we have to make phone calls. So in the portion of agenda, does it have a piece where it says that the agenda has to be given to us earlier or completed earlier, so that, and are we allowed to do that as well?
So it remains how it currently is, which is that any city council member may directly place an item reasonably related to the business and operations of the city on a regular council meeting agenda by providing a written submission to the city secretary at least 7 business days prior to the regular meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Does that answer your question, or are you asking at what
So-
point do you get the
so
full
I guess-
packet?
Because I didn't read because the ideology of us sending in stuff early was so that the secretary can now have the information early. The mayor turns in his stuff to the secretary, unless it's like emergency purposes where something has to be put on the last second, that we would be able to get the packets earlier, so we would have time, let's say like a Wednesday or 3 business days beforehand.
I have cities who do all of the above. Some of them have no time when the city council gets the full agenda packet. Some of them have, it's gotta be to the city secretary 14 days ahead of time so that they can put it together, get it approved by the mayor, and it gets to council 7 days ahead of time, to where people are actually wanting something done and it's gotta be in 21 days ahead of time. So I mean, it's all over the board, and you can adopt whatever you
So
like in relation to
I would
that.
particularly like to have writing in there so that we can start getting the agendas earlier.
The agendas or the full packet?
The full packet in the agenda.
Yeah, we passed the ordinance.
No, because what happened was a while ago, we wanted to do for both. But because we didn't have the city treasurer position filled, we decided not to do it because we didn't want to put all that weight on Ms. Johnson. So we just put the first part, which was that so that city council sent it early, and we never put in that second part until we had that position filled by Ms. Bynum.
Councilman Jones.
We said that we would adopt it once we had the staff to apply. We never, I wouldn't have second or went along with the motion that we turn something in early. The whole ordinance said that we turn in something on an earlier date and we receive our packets on an earlier date. We have already passed the ordinance that stated that. No ordinance said that we would turn in our submissions earlier and not receive our information
But
earlier.
even then, like what this is saying
I'm
right
saying
now,
that
it's not-
I'm in agreement that's why I asked my question upon the packet, because the packet doesn't reflect the ordinances in which we have passed over the past year with the agenda items.
So I believe
That's
I believe what this includes is your ordinance from February that you passed, your draft with Attorney Zach, the direction that I had gotten from City Council regarding the agenda, even if wrong, and the Finance Committee. So it does include the February 2019 ordinance language.
I mean,
Was there more than the February?
Could I move that, that each council member that sent in, something pertaining to, this ordinance, get back with our attorneys to update the information that is provided in this packet.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that all council members who submitted information regarding to the ordinance number 02019-0906-001. Be afforded an opportunity to get the information back to the city attorney. You've heard the motion, ready for the question?
I will just say, once we pass this, the agenda needs to subsequently follow this format, is that correct? Once we pass this ordinance, our agendas moving forward need to follow this agenda that we're outlining in the departmental report.
Yes, the order of
The
the.
order of how our meeting works.
Yes.
And it's, I guess, with us prolong, I just hope that, council members are, if we have ordinance, things we wanna add to this, we get it in, because that, once we get our structure, that allows us to be able to move. That's my understanding.
Okay. Councilman, I've got a question for you under departmental reports policy. Are we saying, and I guess from a council standpoint, you all can assist me with this, are we saying all of these items are to be in packets and on agenda every 2 weeks? Is that what we're saying? I just want to understand that.
We're saying for how the agenda flows in the department reports, it needs to be on the agenda. So if any city council person has a question about any of those things, they're able to ask this. And that's what in reference to our department reports, that was what that was. And so, every meeting, we know we don't get those, we may get those numbers only monthly, but those numbers will need to be provided to us monthly. But what we learned is when it is not on the agenda, these are, current things that have to do with, things of information. And so if they're not on the agenda, we're not allowed to ask it. So this is what we want to be accepted in the department reports. A lot of this is already in reports. We just have not formally put it in. So no, you wouldn't have to provide it every meeting, but if a city council person had a question on a specific thing, that allows us to be able to have that conversation.
And if you look at the very top of that page, on page 7, it kind of tries to be a little more specific as to how that's done then.
Call for the question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right. Ayes have it.
So, Ms.
Oh,
Knight,
I'll hold on just a second.
it's about this.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so since we're still talking about this, can you talk, we had an issue, and I want to make sure we get clarity for Dr. Brown and any other citizens, so we have clarity, even city council, we were confused. Can we go to the page number in reference to the amount of time, so we can make sure that we're not coming back and have a misunderstanding on where we're going? So can we go to that page number and the reading in which because we said that we wanted to have, a citizen can have come in and talk about a topic or an issue, and they can they have their 3 minutes to use that. And so I wanted to make sure that was clear versus kind of what we were kind of debating about at the beginning. And so can we go to that item specifically so we can make sure that all council?
Right, so it's at the bottom of page 9 in your packets. And so the way it's currently written, and tell me how to change this for the next draft, and the way it's currently drafted is that any member of the public wishing to address a meeting not on the agenda signs up prior to the beginning of the meeting. They can then address council during the same portion of the meeting that we have right now, and they're limited to 3 minutes. Separately, any member of the public wishing to address an item that is on the agenda can sign up for that agenda item, again, prior to the meeting, give it to the city secretary, and at that point, regardless of how many items, they get 3 additional minutes. So that's how it's currently written. If that's not
additional.
how you,
Total.
3 additional.
3 additional total minutes from if they spoke at the beginning.
Okay,
You know, I'm sorry.
three up front and then 3
3 up front, and then
throughout.
3
Okay.
total more.
That's the additional.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
This
if
will be
you don't like that, maybe it's 3 total for the whole meeting. That's up to you, that's a policy decision totally.
One of the debates we had, and I guess this is what we do need to talk about, I think Councilman Jones would have one of he was a little more boisterous in reference to this about total, because he said we'd be here if 10 people came and they had 3 minutes, that's 30 minutes just on one issue, and we'd have to sit here. And so we wanted to respect the voices of our citizens, and we said, well, we could do that. We don't have too many people running up on that issue in our current meetings, so if 3 minutes would be the total, the question I had though is, citizens' comments are citizens' comments, and the citizen can communicate whatever they wanted for that 3 minutes. If we added that to the total, if I'm a citizen and I'm coming to talk about, public work, the park, which is an agenda item, are we requiring them to sign in prior to the meeting, or do we say that they can come in if they remember our agendas are posted, and they may not, and they're getting off work at 7, do they still get their 3 minutes if they haven't spoke at the beginning? I just wanted to talk about that formality or are we saying anybody who wants to speak, if they're not here at 6 o'clock and they're supposed to go on the agenda at 8 o'clock to speak, they have to sit here the whole time on that issue? Or are we saying people can also address their issue during citizens' comments, but because we can't respond back? So how does that work? Can you help us with
So
that?
currently how it's written, they have to sign up prior to the beginning of the meeting.
Okay,
Which is the way it is now.
Yeah, so they could also contact her prior to the meeting
Correct.
and let her know. But that would, maybe you would want to publicize how that's done so that people would know that. So you maybe put it on the website or on the agenda itself, just kind of how it works for, a while. But it doesn't have to read that way. That's just how it currently reads.
so what about if they wanted to speak to a specific agenda item, they can come at the beginning and say, I'm not here for citizens' comments, I'm here to talk about the park. And they have their 3 minutes to talk about that, or they can speak about it on that agenda item. How does that feel?
Not how it's currently written,
Okay.
or currently meaning the draft.
Correct.
It's at the time the agenda item is called, the bearer will call them if they're signed up.
Okay.
So prior to council discussing it, they get their time then. But it's not at the beginning of the meeting as it's drafted right now.
Okay.
Meaning if they want to speak on, agenda item 7, they can't, the way it's drafted, speak at the beginning of the meeting.
Correct, 'cause
They
it's 3
speak
minutes
right
to be up.
before it.
Correct.
But you could draft it to where it's all at the beginning of the meeting and not during the meeting.
So, council, just for clarification, what we have here is what we agreed upon, but what we were saying before was not. And so, just for clarification, so we'll leave here kind of making sure we don't have any. We're saying that citizens can sign up for citizens' comments and they get 3 minutes. Then are we also in this part B, says they can speak to any agenda items and they get 3 minutes or 3 minutes total for A and B? Because we talked about
3
total.
minutes for A and 3 minutes total for B, regardless of how many agenda items,
Yeah,
is
but
how it's currently
I know
drafted.
me, personally, I asked for everything the staff could get out of the meeting, so I'm not sure what we agreed upon, but that's why I made the motion for clarification purposes.
That's what we're trying to give the directive of what we need, so we need you to give that.
So do we want to put a motion on the floor so that council knows what?
Yeah, that's why we're trying, because we had like 3 different iterations on, and so we need to figure out, A says 3 minutes, B says 3 minutes. If we want 3 minutes total, A and B, which we would just take the time frame out, then that's what we want to make sure, so when we get this on this next agenda item, we can pass it with those changes.
Now keep in mind, in having read at least the spirit of the law, based on what our city attorney is guiding us on, right now, for example, the lady was here with a water bill, okay? Can't respond during general citizen comments, okay? So when does those issues actually get discussed, addressed? Because that's a part of what this law said. They want the people to be able to let council know, I have this issue, and there's some interaction. Right now, we're stuck by our own rules
Well,
of having them speak at the beginning, and then if we want to address that issue, it can't be basically addressed throughout the meeting because it's not on the agenda,
well, and
based on Open Meetings
And the
Act.
new statute does not change the interactive quality of the communication.
Yeah, so we still can't.
Well, if we're on that
So-
issue, there is addressing the issue.
So,
That's very different.
so you would then address you would hear the comments, if there's
Mhm.
5 comments, and then you would address the issues amongst yourselves
Exactly.
after motion and during deliberation.
Right,
But you wouldn't talk back and forth with the person with the issue.
I know, but right now, if there's an issue on the agenda, then that person, just like the lady had, to come in and lead, but I'm just concerned to make sure we are addressing people's issues and not just talking to ourselves. That's my point. So if they talk here and then 2-3 hours later, with the way our meeting's been running, especially, and a part of my concern are the departmental reports policy. I agree with you, counsel. We're talking police department, public works department activity. I don't know what the difference is, but anyway. Monthly building permits, monthly utility transactions, water and sewer connections, new taxing development, water accountability, toll sewer provided to university. We don't provide anything to the university. Major water and sewer repairs, builder service inspections, TCEQ correspondence, capital improvement projects, administrative departments, city administration activity, code compliance, municipal court, economic development corporation, planning and zoning. If each of you requests 3 different reports, we're doing a meeting on nothing but reports. And that's not city business. We're discussing it, but that's what we're talking about. Go ahead. Well, this relates to citizen comments, because the time frame, and if you would, counsel, when I'm speaking, I listen to you. I'm just asking you, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to Councilman Wallace. What we're saying here is, if we're discussing our totality time of the meeting and taking care of the residents' business, which is what we're charged to do, we're discussing how all these things relate to the operating of the meeting. So they all matter. Councilman Jones.
I move that we move the agenda.
I mean, we already did a motion, which should technically be on item 3 now.
No. They
We
can
made a motion.
but they can't close
Discuss and take action on resolution in opposition to the Texas Central High-Speed Railway. This was simply some information that we received. It wasn't a position that I took, but it is up on the floor to see what council wishes to do, since this is something that's
Yes, sir.
countywide. Well,
We moved it to next meeting, to whatever issues or concerns we have with the ordinance, we get with the attorney, and we correct the language. We already discussed it, I don't see why we're further discussing about the same thing.
have you voted on it?
Yes, sir, we already
No,
moved.
he's
He's
talking
saying
on
one
3.
thing, you saying something else. So what have we done?
Oh, I'm sorry, you talking about the Texas High Speed Railroad?
That's what I read. Okay. Come on, Councilman Rowland.
Is there any additional information? You said you received this resolution from who? Why would we want to oppose it? I thought this was an issue that was kind of dead, so can you give us some additional information?
Well, no, it has never really come before council, and this was one of those to give council some information to read. Our city attorneys put it together, and we can start the dialogue, and if not vote tonight, at least it's in front of you to gather additional information.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I move that we table this item to the next agenda item to give us additional meeting to do the research.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that item 3 be tabled until a subsequent meeting. You've heard the motion, ready for the discussion, Councilman Jones.
I've written this. I guess because I have seen some insight from the county on this. This impacts the taxpayers, their land disturbance. A lot of people that own land in rural areas that do not want to Texas Central High-Speed Railway. So I'm not understanding why. I mean, it's an ongoing issue, just like the landfill. It'll keep occurring. This will be some years that they'll keep trying to bring it up. So, I mean, I don't see why we oppose. We asking for it to go to the next agenda. All we said is that as the city of Purview, we're opposed to them disturbing our land in this resolution.
Actually, we're not saying that because it doesn't cross through the city of Purview.
So again,
It crosses through northeastern part of Waller County, just.
so our neighbors.
Purview.
So
Yeah.
this, basically this,
That's random.
basically this resolution is a way to show, that we're in support and with the county stance on the railway. I mean, this has been an issue, you know, we've been hearing about the railway for some time now, so, you know, this doesn't, I understand what Councilman Jones is saying.
Mhm.
My thing was, this is the first time I've received this. Most of you haven't just received it or haven't read it. And so all I'm simply saying, we are in support of it. It's not nothing that puts us in anything, but again, we just,
All right, so call for the question.
You done?
yeah, I'm done.
Okay. You wanna call the question now?
Call for the question.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Uh,
Opposed have the same right?
Opposed.
I
So I
move,
believe that put it back onto agenda. Councilman Jones, you want the floor to make a
I
motion?
move that we accept the resolution and oppose, in opposition to the Texas Central High Speed Railway.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that council accept the resolution in opposition to the Texas Central High Speed Railway. You've heard the motion, ready for the questions?
question.
All those in favor? Opposed have the same right? Motion passed, resolution accepted. So that's not tabled, this finally was addressed. 4, discuss and take action on informational, policy, and procedure binder developed for city council at the start of each financial year. Councilman Jones.
Alright, the reason why I felt like this was important, because I know for myself, receiving a lot of information, you basically have to go search and find it on your own, and that could take a lot of time, so I think regardless of who elected, they should be provided with the most recent and update information, rather that be the city charter, the budget, ordinances, department manuals, economic 4B bylaws, all committees, boards, and commissions, so that way we can know who we're working with, what we're stepping into whenever the new year comes up. You come with a binder, it's kind of like an introductory to what you really are gonna get yourself into. I know Ms. Bynum will probably beat me up because it'll make her job a little hectic going into the financial year, but I think it's a thing that council as well as the mayor be very appreciative of, because it's some boards and commissions that I know myself or Councilmember Wallace may suggest that we already have. We just need to go back and talk to those people to form the committee once again, to get the committee on the ground rolling. So I think it'll help us hit the year faster and be able to know, be able to flip through the binder to see different ordinances and different things of that sort.
You have this cut again?
Yeah, so I just trying some clarity. So basically, you're asking for like a transition package. So whenever a newly elected person comes in office, we hand them this and says, this is the city of Purview in a nutshell. I think we need to iron out exactly what needs to be in this packet, because it could be very vast. There are, I know you mentioned a lot of things, you know, off the top of your head, but I think if we want to make that direct, then I guess, then the next question would be who's gonna create the binder? And so that way we really have to iron out, what information we want, and then identify how we can get access to those things, because that could be extensive.
And so that's why I did homework on the list of things I may know. If some things come up, I mean, it's easy to make amendments to it or add additional documents on top of the pretty lengthy list in which I have before.
I think this is good, but I think we could be more efficient in 2019 and create a Google Docs, a Google folder that has all of that stuff in it. That way we don't have to use paper.
I mean, I'm in agreement with Google Docs, but another thing, as with Google Docs, it's one thing, and we're not the only, I didn't suggest this because I thought it was a great idea. Actually, when we went to YAO, a lot of cities actually are introduced with a binder. I mean, you don't really go through a transition period that often to where you have to come up with a totally new binder or where you come up with a lot of boards and commissions.
Right.
But they found it very beneficial to have that binder because on Google Docs, I mean, right now I can't even pull out my phone to send an email to be able to pull up different kind of information due to my phone service. So I think it would be best if we have it in hand and be like your playbook.
Any other council comments on the matter? One of the things that you mentioned, council, were ordinances.
Yes, sir.
The ordinance book would be, if I remember, the one that was actually printed by former Mayor Jackson. It was about 4 inches thick, just for ordinances. But they are readily all available online, as well as policies and procedures, resolutions. They're all there. You mentioned the start of each financial year. That would be different than the election year.
The reason why I said that because of course you would take out whatever the previous year financial was, and usually your financial year is start of year and new year. So whatever changes have been made from that previous year, you'll go in, you'll take those papers out. JJ give you a new Mr. JJ, will give you a new financial report when you plug that into the bond.
Okay, Councilman.
I want to say I am in agreement to it, just for a pure fact. I think there is a lot of information that I think would be great if it was readily made, and we understand the aspect of a lot of things being online. But as John said, a lot of things we may not have access to at that time, depending on where we're at. And so I just think it would be a great thing to start off with, to keep everybody abreast, especially if someone mentions something, we all could be able right then and there to be able to check on what exactly is being said. So I would think that.
So you gonna carry the binder around with you?
Yep, I do.
I'm just
I
saying.
definitely.
I'm just playing devil's advocate, so.
Well, I'm thinking in light of just the paper and printer costs and what have you, it might be a lot more cost efficient since everybody's going more paperless to help you get what additional service you may need to have access to
Yes, sir, Mr.
all
Mayor.
this stuff. Because as Councilman Jones alluded to, that's another heavy piece every 12 months, because there's an election every 12 months, there's an opportunity for a change every 12 months.
The binder shouldn't change, right? It should, I mean, they're gonna be updates as you go through, but that, I guess that general information should be the same.
You know, get a whole new binder.
Well, no, but it's all about putting a new binder together, because I can assure you the former elected officials don't have a history of turning them back in. So, based on past experience, it will be a new binder. Councilman Williams?
I think, I like the binder idea also, but my only concern is having financial reports in a binder that we carry around all the time. I'm kind of leery about that as far as what's on the financial reports. Just carrying them in a binder.
Public anyway.
I know, but I'm just saying, it's people.
My financial reports, I just made like with JJ, because I mean, we could lose the budget at any point that we have now.
Okay, Councilman.
Councilman Jones, if you could just easily identify us those 10 things that you think needs to be in there, city charter, the flow chart of city staff, whatever information, identify those, and then we can always add to it, but that's a nice space and start.
Yeah, that's my only reason, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so, do a motion, or I have a motion? Go ahead.
So I move that we accept and take action on having a informational policy and procedure binder developed for city council at the start of each financial year.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that council have an informational binder to include policy and procedures developed for city council at the start of each financial year. You've heard the motion, ready for the questions?
Already,
Councilman Randall?
I think, it would be a good gesture for council assist in gathering the information that goes into the binder. I think at this point, we're all kind of experienced enough to know where to find most of this information, so we can kind of assist in binding and trying to put all the information into one location.
If we can, and it's a good point, and to make sure it addresses what you all would like to see in there. Councilman Jones, if you would collect that listing, start with yours and see what others they want in, and then y'all can bring that back, and that way we'll have a focus task and make sure it includes the information that you are interested in having.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Call for question.
All those in favor say aye. Ayes have it. Discuss and take action on economic 4B expense report and financial budget. Councilman Jones.
I asked JJ, Mr. JJ to bring us back economic 4B, expense report, financial budget, and also, one time a dialogue, short dialogue, with attorney, to also discuss like what things are supposed to be brought back towards council for, vote, from economic 4B, budget and how that whole,
So-
what role do we play in economic 4B's, budget or dispersal funds?
You have to approve their annual budget.
Okay.
Is that your question?
No, outside of the annual budget, so it's, if they spend more than $10,000, does it come back to us?
So, yeah, so I haven't personally reviewed the bylaws of your Type B Economic Development Corporation, but within the bylaws, it's gonna be one of a couple different ways. The state statute allows it to be, that they can approve any projects, like say they're gonna fund something for $5,000, subject to the approval of city council in the bylaws, or it could read, subject to the budget approved by the city council. And I don't know how yours reads, we have a different attorney from our office actually handling that, and I didn't know that question was what you were looking for, but I can get the exact answer for you as to how the bylaws read. And city council had to have approved the bylaws to begin with. So not the city council, but the city council as a whole, originally had to approve how those bylaws were written and how that process worked for your EDC.
1989.
Not surprised.
Cool, well,
Yeah, so we should,
if you could give me back the specifics, that's all,
Mhm.
what the dialogue, conversation we
sure,
had about.
sure, unless you have them, and no.
Okay. Item 6, discuss and take action authorizing Brian Rowland in his official capacity as mayor pro tem as signatory on city bank account with Prosperity Bank. Councilman Jones.
Last time, even though, yes, he is my fraternity president, a well good friend and brother, mentor, all those things to me, this was not put on the agenda, dealing with his name. Rather than the mayor pro tem, just be able to sign off on all, banking paperwork, due to the fact that if something, was to happen to the mayor, then next who steps in charge is the mayor pro tem, regardless of this. It could be any,
Yes. That's something that can't be done.
I know, but it will have to change.
You have to have a name is what I'm saying, you can't put the.
Oh, yes, ma'am,
title.
I'm just saying why I had.
Right, he's
proposed it.
explaining-
Oh.
he's explaining
Yeah,
the
I mean,
process.
Yes, ma'am. Regardless of it's either one of the five up here that served as the mayor pro tem at the time, which I know that it would have to be brought back by name.
And council, just so the record was clear, this came from you, that the name had to be on there to go on the account, it had to be on the agenda.
Yes,
Okay,
the name itself, yeah.
okay, I just wanted to be clear. Councilman Randall?